Okay, for B1 there are two genetic illnesses that you need to know about, and you need to know that they are recessive genetic illnesses. The first one that we're going to do is cystic fibrosis. Now, cystic fibrosis is an inherited illness that is caused by having a faulty mucus gene. And the gene that controls that mucus makes the mucus too thick. Some sort of mutation has taken place. Now, your lungs contain mucus that help to keep it clean, but because the mucus is too thick, the lungs can become blocked. And the dirt that the mucus is designed to collect, because it stays in the lungs, can cause lung infections. So your poor cystic fibrosis sufferers have to have lots of intensive physiotherapy, bashing them on the back to loosen the mucus so they can cough up a cup of mucus, and they're often ill because they have these lung infections, so they often have to have courses of antibiotics. Eventually their lungs can be so badly damaged they may need a lung transplant. It also affects their digestion because their digestive juices are too thick. And because the digestive juices are too thick, they don't mix with their food when they eat, so they have to take enzyme tablets when they have their meals, because their normal enzymes are trapped in this thick mucus. And also, apparently, it gives them bone problems. And I didn't know that, I read that in the textbook. Now, because the normal gene is dominant, we'll give it the capital letter F. The recessive gene will give the letter small f. Now, imagine that you have a normal parent meets someone with cystic fibrosis. Okay? So mum, in this case, will produce eggs, half of which contain the normal gene, and the other half contain the normal gene. They're the only gametes that she can produce. In this case, the father can only produce sperm that carry the recessive gene, because he's homozygous recessive. So, let's do our Punnett square. Make it neat this time. Do mum's eggs. Half of her eggs contain the dominant allele, so do the other half. Dad's sperm, all of them contain the recessive allele. So when these combine, all combinations mean that the children would all be heterozygous. That's their genotype. Okay? They would all be normal because they all carry the normal dominant gene, which covers up the effect of the recessive gene. So that's their phenotype. Okay? But we also say, because all the children have the recessive allele, they are all carriers of the cystic fibrosis gene. Now you could have another combination. Shut the door please, Joseph. Okay? You could have two carriers meet. Okay, so you could have there and there. So, in this case, half the mum's eggs would be normal and half the mum's eggs would carry the recessive gene. And in this case, half the dad's sperm would be normal and half the dad's sperm would carry the recessive gene. So if we do our Punnett square, nice and neatly, mum's alleles in for her eggs. Half normal, half recessive. Dad's sperm, half normal, half recessive. So if this sperm meets this egg during fertilisation, you produce a homozygous dominant normal child. If this sperm meets this egg, you would have a heterozygote carrier child, but they'd have the normal phenotype. Same with this child. But if this sperm met with this egg during fertilisation, you'd end up here with a sufferer. Now the ratios are different. If we do the genotypes, you have three different genotypes. You've got homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive, heterozygous and homozygous recessive, which is 1 to 2 to 1. The phenotype ratio, 3 of your children would be normal and 1 of them would be recessive. So it's 3 to 1 normal to sufferer. Now they might ask you about the chances of a couple having a child that's a sufferer. Well, every time they have a child, there's a 1 in 4 chance that you'd be a sufferer, which is 25%. There's a 2 in 4 chance, 50% chance that you'd be a carrier. And there's also a 1 in 4 chance that you'd be homozygous dominant normal. If the couple were unlucky enough to have their first child as a sufferer, the next child they'd still have a 25% chance because it's a different set of sperm and eggs that are combined. And remember, half the sperm are carriers and half the eggs are carriers. Now there is one more combination they might ask you to know about, and that is if you had a normal parent who was producing children with a carrier. So they might ask you to work out this combination of genes. Well, we won't bother with the gametes this time. Well, we will, we'll do it properly. So mum, all of her eggs would carry the normal gene. And in this case, dad, half of his sperm would carry the normal gene and half of his sperm would carry the cystic fibrosis gene. So when we do this combination of genes in our Punnett square, do mum's eggs first, both normal. We do dad's sperm, half normal, half carry the cystic fibrosis gene. So when they combine, 2 out of 4 chance of being homozygous dominant normal, and a 2 out of 4 chance of being a carrier. There's a 0 out of 4 chance of being a sufferer. Now, people who know that they have members of their family who have cystic fibrosis have what's called genetic counselling. Okay, and basically their DNA is tested to see whether they carry the cystic fibrosis gene or whether they have the normal dominant gene, and then they're able to make informed decisions about producing children. Okay, hopefully now you should understand monohybrid inheritance of cystic fibrosis and also know some of the symptoms of the illness, which is what the exam board expect you to be able to describe.